By standing in our truth fiercely, we become the life force of change. It unlocks our self worth, fuels our confidence, and empowers us to ignite transformation in others. Welcome to I'm the Change, yet another podcast with a very special guest. We are on a mission to bring you stories packed with insights of courage, self accountability, resilience, revamp self worth, revealing the battles with self doubt several times. And these are the stories that have dedicated their time and passion to be a light for others. These stories leave you with insights, inspirations, possibility, hope, very much required for this busy, divided, overloaded, conflicted world. The podcast is dedicated for all the coaches out there with simple message to own their story and raise their self-worth because that's when you become the light to navigate complexity and chaos. I want to welcome a very, very special guest. She's such a favorite for me. And I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Elena to the podcast, a globally recognized master coach with over 30 years of experience in leadership, executive coaching, and team development. Originally from Argentina and now based in Mexico. Dr. Elena is a true pioneer in coaching world. She founded the first school of coaching recognized by Secretary of Education in Argentina and has trained leaders and teams across more than 30 countries. Elena is also a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion, notably creating programs that empower visually impaired coaches. An acclaimed speaker, educator, author of Crafting the Future, Elena's work continues to inspire coaches, leaders worldwide to embrace transformation, own their stories, and unlock their full potential. Let's dive into this very special conversation. Welcome, Elena.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you for inviting me. With me for this moment that I enjoy being with you.
The feelings are mutual. It's such a joy to be with you always, Elena. I so much enjoy and look for and create opportunities to have a conversation with you. So, welcome once again. So, I have sent you some questions and I'm going to go through them. However, I think let's start organically about what's your change story? Where would you like?
It's a very big question, so interrupt me whenever you want.
Sure.
I am the first daughter of my parents. They lived from being dentists, both of them. My father was a very acknowledged surgeon, a leader in his world. And my mother started being married, also dentistry, because she got married very, very young when she was 18 or 19, something like that. And she studied dentistry being married, and also was very successful, and she was a pediatrician in dentistry. But the heart of my family was divided in duty, because they were absolutely always calling for duty, and art. My father used to play piano, and whatever instrument you want, he played it.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to have friends that made music. So music and art, poetry, singing, theater was my childhood.
Mm.
Also, because he loved primitive cultures, we traveled around our country and some other countries from South America, working with aboriginal cultures and doing excavations to look for things. So it was really, really a beautiful time. Not the one of the duty, but the other part was absolutely beautiful for me. I have two brothers, a sister and a brother. I studied in private schools always, but I didn't have too much time to play, because I was studying a lot of music, and it was my duty to study music when I was coming from school, and I had school in the morning and in the afternoon. In the afternoon, I had English, so I didn't have too much playing, but I was always interested in learning. I can tell you that that was my fuel, no? So when it was, I had some transitions. When I was 15, a professor in my school asked me, "Why don't you want to be a teacher?" And
Okay.
I was astonished with that question
At 15.
when I was 15. So I
Okay.
decided to go to the branch that took me to be a teacher. And there she was my teacher also from literature.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me to write some tales, and I got some awards writing those tales in the school. But the award was that some very important writers were going to read my tale, my story, and in a breakfast talk me about what I wrote. So that was for me like something sparkling that showed me that if I was doing efforts to be better, I would get something higher. Where like the prices, life prices, you know? So the other thing that came 3 years later that was that I had to choose what I was going to do. And as I told you, my father was always in duty. So he sat me in a small bench and he was in a very big couch
Hmm.
and said, "Well, what are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "Well, I am not clear about that.
Hmm.
I was thinking and I have two possibilities. One is I love reading and probably literature could be something that I want to do." He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Great." And the other thing that I love is probably being a physician. I want to
Hmm.
be a doctor. And he said, "Okay, very, very good. Good elections. Reading and literature is something that you can continue doing all your life. You don't need to study for that. So let's talk about being a physician." Okay. So we had a conversation where he said, "Well, but do you want to get married and have kids?" "Oh, yes, for sure." "Well, if you want to have kids, that's not the profession for you because a physician is always in duty, has no evenings, no nights, no time for a family. So why don't you study dentistry?
Hmm.
Because dentistry is like being the physician of the mouth." And he said, "Welcome for studying dentistry." And I went to the university to study dentistry. So the way he manipulated the situation took me to study dentistry, like him and my mom. As I was always a very good pupil and I studied a lot. I was fascinated the first years, because the first 3 years are like a common branch with medicine. So I was fascinated studying. But when I came to the fourth year and I saw the first molar, I saw that the world was so small that I was beginning to get crazy. But in that time, it was impossible to say, I'm going to stop, I'm going to change. I had to continue, no? So I decided to finish. And instead of taking the route to surgery, that in that moment it was like impossible for a woman,
Hmm.
I decided to open a world, very big world, from the smaller sizes because I became a pathologist.
Okay.
So
So
I used,
dentistry to pathology.
yes. So that was a fascinating world. I had a great teacher, incredible teacher, a man that was very acknowledged and recognized in the world for his work. And I became a researcher and I was a professor in that subject in the University of Buenos Aires. And I was chosen by the CONICET, that is the institution that chooses the best researchers in the country. And I was paid by them. So that was very interesting.
Hmm.
I published a lot about researching in international papers. But I got married very, very young just to get rid of my house, get rid of my parents and the duty. And that was one of the breakdowns.
Can you say more about that? What do you mean you wanted to get rid of your parents? What does it mean?
Well, duty was so strong at home, and I couldn't get out and have a time with my friends because it was forbidden. Time with my boyfriend, it was forbidden. If I
Hmm.
was going to the cinema, I had to come back from the cinema home. So it was really tiring, the limits that I had at home.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
decided to get married when I was 22.
Okay.
And there was, do you know that kind of boxes that are like glass boxes where the cheese was taking out of flies?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a plate with a cup. Well, I always used to say I lived inside one of those boxes. So I saw a world outside through the window or through the glass, but always smelling the same thing, like cheese, you know? So in the moment I got married, I got rid of that.
Hmm.
And the world was so big, but I didn't know how to live in it. If you ask me about my marriage, I would say, poor man, he married a woman that never saw him. I thought that marriage was about laundering, preparing good food, having a clean house, and living in good humor. But I never saw him.
What do you mean by that?
I never saw his emotions, what he wanted in life. We never had very intimate conversations about who we are, what
Mm-hmm.
we are looking for. So it was a failure. I got my first two kids, Laura, that was a year older than Eloy.
Mm-hmm.
Eloy was almost a year when I get divorced. And there it began. That breakthrough took me to another stage in my life. It was being responsible of myself and of two kids. So I was
How did you find the courage to take that action at that age, or what were some of the complexities coming out of that?
well, I had to work very hard for them and choosing where to invest or what to do with my money
Hmm.
to raise these two kids.
Hmm.
I couldn't pay or afford personal at home, so I was alone with two kids. I was working as a dentist, so I was going with the courage with the two kids to my office to work. And in the mornings, I was working at the National Commission of Atomic Energy or the university. So it was very hard to manage.
Hmm. I'm sure.
And that were like 6 years until I got married again
Hmm.
with a man that had four kids. Three of them were adopted, one from Egypt, another one from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
another one from Argentina, from Cordoba, and one girl that was his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
born with a genetic disorder. She looked like normal, but she was very short. She couldn't grow too much, had some, well, some deformities. And I had those four kids living with me. So from
So
two,
four and two, six kids.
yes, six.
And what made you take that decision? I'm sure you knew that you're getting into something more complex.
Well, the idea was not living with the kids, but this African boy was very difficult. He had problems at the school. Uh, his mother, or the first stepmother, didn't love him. So he gave that boy to his father. His father put that boy in different schools, boarding schools. And as he couldn't get adapted to the schools, I told him, give me that boy to me. So that boy, even not being married, finished living with me and my sons. So they created a very special relationship. And after that, the three girls came also home. So I finished with the six kids, and we had a seven. Nico was born there, so I had seven kids at home
That's okay. I'm starting to imagine the complexities. Okay.
and still working. Thanks God. Well, 6 years after that, I am talking from responsibility, yes? So I'm talking from my lessons. I will not talk about them. I am talking about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I discovered that I continued looking for duty because this man was crazy about duty and used to have a relationship with me, managing me as an employee
Hmm.
and sending me notes.
So is duty and very pronounced emotion there in that area, or how's it?
Yes, that was terrible for me. Yes, getting out of that it was very difficult. For example, when I got my diploma of being a dentist, my father was in the room, in the principal room of the university. So as he was a professor there, the people that was in the table that was going to give me my diploma called
Hmm.
him to give me my diploma. My father gave me a hug, and instead of giving me the diploma,
Hmm.
he went out of me with the diploma, and the people began to laugh
And
because
why? Why
I
is that?
stood there and I didn't receive my diploma. He was taking the diploma. So,
Okay. So
tell
is
me
it around, feeling proud about it, or is it what is this duty really means there? I'm trying to understand.
that the title was his,
Okay. That's
that he
beyond it.
got something important that was that his daughter was a dentist. No?
Okay.
So,
Identity is identity.
yes, I remained alone and the people began to laugh. It was a lot of people, hundreds of people. He came back and gave it to me, and always laughed. But from there on, all my awards, when I became a doctor, a PhD, when I became a master in pathology, he was there, and I gave those diplomas to him. No, it
Hmm.
was like my way of honoring him.
Hmm. So is it patriarchy, or is it a sense towards ownership? What is this
What it was for me,
for him
I don't know for him. I think that for him was proud.
and for you?
And for me it was, please love me. I am what you want.
Hmm. Obedience.
I fit in the ideal of a daughter that you have
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So really getting validation
with him.
with him. Okay. Okay. And the same happened with the husband.
Yes, I did the same. I looked for men that were always asking me for something more,
Hmm.
and I was doing whatever I could to demonstrate I fit in your ideal.
I hear you. And that's a story of a lot of us, right?
Well, in some moment, life with this man, it was impossible for me. He was cheating me. I was running as crazy to do whatever it was, but the mood in the house for me, it was impossible.
Hmm.
So when I decided to get divorced from him, I had the subject of the kids and I wanted the kids with me, seven. And my mother told me, "You're crazy. You are like sick with duty. Don't charge yourself anymore." Are his kids.
Hmm.
Visit him, love them, but don't take them to your home.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I got my three kids and I got divorced at 28th of January. The 4th of February, one of the researchers that I had, one of the most important lines of investigation of research, died suddenly in a
Hmm.
beach because of a heart attack.
Hmm.
So I lost one of my teachers, important teachers, that We were getting awards, national and international. We were working with uranium.
Mm.
So it was a very big part of my who I am, no?
Mm.
And February 14th, my father died. So in 17 days or 18 days, I lost three big columns of my life.
And what did that do to you, Elena?
Well, that was the biggest, one of my biggest breakdowns that began to take me to my roots. Because
So
my
you.
first question in that moment was who I am. I am not the daughter of Dr. Espinal. I
Mm.
am not Norberto Feldman's wife.
Mm.
I am not the one that had all the awards with Dr. Perec. Who I am.
So identity crisis.
Yes. And that took me to some beautiful moments, now when I look at them.
Mm.
One of those days, I was I was doing my work in the area of pathology. I was diagnosing, and I diagnosed a cancer breast tumor from a woman that was 32 years old.
Mm.
I finished with that. I wrote the diagnosis and I gave it to the assistant. In
Mm.
that moment, to tape it in a typing machine.
Mm.
And I don't know, some minutes after that, a woman came in and said that number. So I looked at her and I said, "This is the patient." It was a young woman, interesting woman. And I told the assistant, "This is the breast cancer that came for the paper."
Mm.
And I could listen to myself. I said, "What I'm saying, I'm crazy." In 2 minutes, this woman will read the diagnosis and
Mm.
will know that she has maximum 5 years of life.
Mm.
I don't know if she is married.
Mm.
I don't know if she has kids. Probably she has her parents. I'm sure she could have some dreams, and nothing will exist for her in 5 years. And I'm just saying, there's the breast cancer. So I could see me even not knowing anything about listening. I could see myself out of emotions, in duty, not
Mm.
in contact with the other.
Wow. So you basically saying that the sense of duty almost blinded your emotions,
Yes,
the
blinded the other part of myself,
other part of yourself,
the human part.
the
I was
human
in
part.
science.
Yeah. The science was so high. Okay.
Other thing that I didn't tell you was that when my father died, I was with him. He died because of a cancer, liver cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And he received some injections just to get disconnected because he was suffering too much.
Mm.
And I was with him when he received the first injection and when he received the second one.
Mm.
And in that moment, he asked me to call my mother. And he had a conversation with my mother, both alone. My mother get out from there crying. Then he called my sister, then my brother, and then he called me. And he told me, "Elena, before I'm going, I want to tell you that you were the daughter that I wanted, the ideal, the perfection, the no, and I love you and I thank you for who you are." And in that moment that I was crying, I get so annoyed, Jaya. And I said, "Now you're telling this to me. Now that you're leaving, that we have no
It's
plan,
late.
no time to enjoy together."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he told me, "Please prioritize love in your life." And that, I think, that was the beginning. Then it came this with this woman. Then I had a terrible backache, and I finished with a person, a professional, that recommended me to do something about my emotions. And I met an American woman that was doing something called transformational strategies.
Okay.
And she told me when I finished with her, in very short time, you will finish doing what I'm doing. And I said, this woman is crazy. I believe in statistics. I believe in what I see. What is she saying? But she asked me, the people that was with me in that meeting decided that I was going to be the leader and I had to join them every Thursday at 7 o'clock in the afternoon at home.
Hmm.
And she used to call me and tell me something to do with them, and I was doing that. So I got engaged in that. And as for sure, I
Hmm.
began studying. So I began reading about emotions. I began reading about life and another way of humanizing me.
Hmm.
And in some moment, like 7 or 8 months after that, she decided not to come anymore to Argentina. And they said to the people, well, this is the last one. And the people said, no, we don't want to finish. We will continue with you.
Hmm.
And for sure, they touched a very important part of me.
Hmm.
And I began to study transactional psychology. I began reading about, I don't know, a lot of things, as always. You know? Uh, and that became one of the most important schools in Argentina about transformation.
Hmm.
One of those days that I was doing that, a journalist came. And
Okay.
this journalist got annoyed and said, what is a dentist doing in the psychology field? And I decided that as I knew that in that moment, I had to transform a breakdown in a breakthrough. And I said, what is missing here? Is missing that I am not a psychologist. I try to explain this from philosophy, that I think is the base of coaching, another understanding of human beings. But I decided if this is so difficult, let's study psychology. So I
Okay.
became a licensed in psychology.
So from dentistry to psychology. That's
Yes.
okay.
But I never worked as a psychologist. I don't like that paradigm. I don't like it. And I
Okay.
would say something to the coaches here that at least happens in the West.
Hmm.
When you look for trash, you will find trash. When you look for treasures, you will find treasures.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a professional to look for trash, you will find trash.
But who looks for trash? Really?
Well,
What do you
here,
mean by trash?
the psychologists in Occidents, in this area of the world, have a tendency to look for your suffering in your childhood, for
Hmm.
what your parents were not able to give you during your childhood, for what you
Searching
need.
for traumas, you mean?
Yes, small
Hmm.
traumas, but when you are looking for that,
You'll find it.
you will find a lot.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has trauma. So why you looking for it is the conversation.
No? So I think that that's one of the reasons why I decided to look for another phase of life,
Hmm.
saying, please don't lose your time looking
Hmm.
for trash, because you
Hmm.
are destroying happiness, you are destroying joy. Why don't you look for a space of happiness and to build it? Because now you are an adult, you can choose.
So, Elena, isn't it? I mean, the argument that the world gives is if you can't solve the past, how do you move forward? And if there is trauma, people are paralyzed. So, what's your idea there?
I think we have a gift in life because we are humans, and the gift is freedom. We can choose.
Mm-hmm.
We can choose our relationship with life.
Yeah, but what happens when people don't have ability to choose? That's when they're stuck in trauma.
They live for explanations of why they can't be happy,
Mm-hmm.
for stories about suffering, for stories about being limited, stories
Mm-hmm.
about why I am so limited.
Hmm.
So there's like a kind of very sweet relationship with suffering, thinking about the past
Hmm.
and not understanding that what we have from the past are stories. We create
So they live
stories.
in their stories, is what you're saying.
Yes. And what if we create the stories about the future and we go for them?
That's the ability they don't have.
Well, but they can develop that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what the proposition of coaching, right?
Yes, instead of saying, well, I am doing this because of this,
Hmm.
you can say, I do this because I want to create this other thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So it's where you are looking at. Are you looking
Hmm.
at the past? Would you like to look at the future and own your own life?
Own your own life, own your future, at least.
Own your future. You are also somebody that decided to own your future. And you know it's a lot of work,
Hmm. Yeah, very.
transformational work. So I became, when I was studying and working for sure, I got in love crazily in love. I fell in love with a man,
Mm-hmm.
Hugo, that, well, we were absolutely in love with each other and absolutely from love. There was no duty. It was extraordinary.
Freedom.
1 year and 2 months after that, he died.
Mm,
And I had to choose if I wanted to continue living, Jaya. It was terribly difficult for me,
terrible.
you know.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And I had 3 kids and I had to work for them. And it was like dreaming beautifully for a little more than a year and again falling down in what I could call reality, that it was not reality.
Mm,
Reality was its life without him. And I had to reinterpret what does it mean love. And I remember one day that I came from working and I began to cry as crazy. And I did like all the symbols that we did together, the same. I put on the same lights. I went to the kitchen to look for the same crackers. It was like doing the same things to just to feel that in some way he was there.
making his presence
Yes.
felt.
And I was crying so much that I said in some moment, well, it's your decision, Elena. How much are you going to cry? Uh, and in some moment I said, I'm crying for him. And then
Mm,
I said, no, I'm not crying for him. I'm crying for me.
mm,
And I began like a conversation with him. And I said, I know that wherever you are, you would not like to see me destroyed
to create
because
a
it would be
narrative.
too heavy for you. You want me to continue living and giving that like a gift for you. That's his love. I need to learn to love without seeing you, without hugging you. I need to create from that whole like a seed of love and love you in whatever I love here.
That's very powerful.
So I decided to honor him
Mm,
and say, because I honor you, I have to continue living. I have 3 kids and now I have to redesign my life.
and
I
this
need
was
to.
what age, Elena? What age was this, Elena?
I was
How?
45. My
Mm,
kids were 23, no, 22, 21, and 10.
mm, mm, mm,
So in that moment, It was a great lesson for me about love and freedom.
But that's really, really, really strong of you to create that narrative for you to move forward. I mean, really needs a lot of strength.
Yes, but it's also my responsibility to create a narrative that
Hmm.
connects me with life because death is part of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said, I talked to him, no? I will choose something. I will choose that you are not anymore here.
Accept.
If
Hmm.
I choose that it's okay, that you could go wherever you want. And
That's
that's
what you
okay for me. I am respecting you. And now I have my own work,
Hmm.
who I
Hmm.
am without you.
That's such a powerful moment of change to really create change and get up and reinvent and create a narrative to hold on to life, to responsibility, to really making sure you don't give up. And I can just, I can't even imagine how much strength it would have taken for you that time.
Yes,
How do you feel when you look back?
I still love him and I am still grateful for that love. I remember my mother telling me, we are so young and we are like buried in life because we lost our man. And I told my mother, no, mama, that man that went away from my life is my teacher.
Hmm.
No, the last one. He opened me a door to get in contact with love in a very powerful way.
Very tough way of learning.
I don't know, uh, it's such a sweet peace that you get when you can think in terms of love. Like, I don't need to control. I don't need him close. And he is in every place. His love is with me because I am the machine of love. People is looking for love in life, like somebody to put on the light of love, like the button
Hmm.
for love. And I think we are the machines. That's a button that we have to press.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically creating love from inside and then creating the connection that stays on. It is not about physical presence, it's not about validation, it's not about touch. It's just being all around you.
And it was so, well, in that moment, I was again attacked. And I was told that now I was a psychologist, but the people that was in contact with me as a professional
Hmm.
had such big changes that some moment another journalist
Hmm.
said, well, probably she's a psychologist, but the real reason is because she's a witch. And I said,
Why?
okay, another breakthrough. So what is missing? Let's create a school for witches and create
Say
a
more. This is
school
interesting.
where witches will be around this word. So,
But why did they say that? That's very strange.
yes, but it's very common in Argentina that when something is new, people try to destroy it.
Okay. That's common in the world.
Okay, so I decided to create this school for witches,
Hmm.
and I went to the Secretary of Education
Hmm.
to talk about coaching. I went for 2 years, my friend,
Hmm.
every 15 days,
Hmm.
where they had a new something conversation for saying no.
Hmm.
And I was thinking 15 days how to make that a yes
Okay.
until I got the permission. And in 1998, the first school of coaching acknowledged by a government in the world was open.
Wow. And what all excuses were they giving you, and what did you really push them against?
Nobody, some are so funny. One, it was, nobody knows about that. And I said, Yes, I know, but we are in a changing world and we have
Yeah.
to prepare people for the future. And they said,
Yeah.
yes, but education is based in the past. Education is based in the past.
And this is 1998. I've heard similar things in 2010.
So I said, are you sure? And I want a school where we create new professions, looking
Hmm.
for a new world.
Hmm.
So conversations like that for two
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
and the school was open. And he's still alive. And it's the first school in Argentina and the first school in the world. But in Argentina, it's the first one and it's very respected. And we form excellent coaches there. But it's the school for witches. And when I
That's
created that,
very
yes.
interesting. Yeah, and tell me more about this. Your vision to create more visually impaired coaches. Where did that start? Where did that story start?
Well, then I moved to Mexico because I had an offer,
Mm-hmm.
but not an offer to live in Mexico, just to work with a company. But I got
Uh-huh.
in love with Mexico and I brought my children and we began a new life here where they got married, they got the kids. And in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
a woman, very young woman, called me and told me that she had a foundation where she was working. She's a photographer and she was working with visually impaired people to teach them how to take pictures.
How's that? I mean, what is that? Tell me more about that.
Yes, she
How do you do
teaches
that?
visually impaired people to take pictures.
Okay, tell me more about that. How does that work?
Yes, because you think that a picture is something that where you need the eyes. Probably what you
Isn't
need is
that true?
apparently no.
Okay,
All of
I'm very
those
curious to
pictures
know.
were awarded. Well, they
Uh,
used to put the camera here
okay.
and they ask you, for example, if it is a portrait of you, they
Huh.
will ask you to talk just to know how far you are,
Hmm.
how high is your face, and
Okay.
then they feel for example, the heat of the sun
Mm-hmm.
to know from where the light is coming.
Okay. So use your other senses, basically,
Absolutely
even
all
with
the other senses.
all the other senses.
And they take very beautiful pictures.
That's something so new to me, and that's so amazing talking about the possibility humans can have.
It was an exposition of their pictures, and I went, and it was
Hmm.
the photographer and the picture there.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the picture was like a very big leaf,
Hmm.
like those that are called elephant ears, very
Hmm.
big leaf, and a small snail walking through the leaf.
Hmm.
And the picture was incredible.
Yeah, what's the name of the foundation? Who's this person who runs this?
Ojos que sienten,
Okay.
eyes
I'll
that
ask you for the
feel,
link.
eyes that feel.
Feel, eyes that feel. That's what you said is in Spanish. Okay, I would love to see some of those photographs.
Yes,
I mean,
I can
this
send
is
you some
something.
photographs.
Yeah, I would love to post it on this podcast in case somebody wants to see it. But this is incredible. This is really incredible.
Well, this
And
man that took this picture of
hmm,
the snail, I asked
hmm,
him because the snail is exactly in the middle where the leaf begins to bend like this.
hmm,
And he said, how did you know that the snail was there? And he said, I was listening to its movement. I
hmm,
knew perfectly well where the snail was.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this woman asked me to if I could create something like a small training with some like exercises or something that they could go to the companies and
Hmm,
sell this of teaching the people how to take pictures without seeing
hmm,
blind flow folded and have something else to create like the moment. So I said yes,
Hmm.
but I was really afraid, Jaya. So I
Hmm.
asked Eloy, that you know him, my son, that is also a coach and he works with teams, if he could go. And he went.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he came and said, Mommy, this is serious.
Hmm.
These people listens in a way that we are not used to. And they talk too much to the other. They really agree actions. It's
Mhm.
incredible.
It's
So I
incredible.
decided to go and we prepared them and they went to companies and sometimes we were going with them. But in some moment I said, well, now we are their limit because if we don't go, they can do coaching.
Hmm.
Why we cannot prepare them as coaches?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the moment where I asked Diana Eisen and Susie Warman to help me, and we began delivering the classes. And I did the first one, and I went with my computer and my PowerPoint. I am that kind of blind. And when I was opening my computer, I noticed my blindness. And I decided to close the computer and I began to talk. I was very emotional to talk about possibility. That's for me a root.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
always look from the eyes of possibility
Hmm.
world just to be responsible of what we want to create.
Yeah.
So when I was doing that, probably the eldest one of them
Hmm.
stood up and told me, how do you dare to talk me about possibility? I was the man that maintained my family.
Hmm.
And I had a heart attack. And when I opened my eyes, I was blind. In this moment, my two sons had to quit from the university. They are working for me. I am like a furniture at home. I can't do nothing.
Hmm.
And you are telling me about possibility.
Hmm.
And I had to do coaching, and create possibility there.
I know what
So
you're
we
saying.
began a conversation with this man until he could say something like, probably I have something to learn, that I can love them because of pure love and not because I could give them something, because that is what I did all my life.
Yeah, you're reminding me of something very critical.
And that man became a coach too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we created an organization called Coaching with Vision,
Hmm.
and we are working with them and we look for job for them as coaches.
That's so incredible. That is so incredible.
So here I am. I have 7 grandkids.
And how is life now? How do you define it now? What's going on?
I could say life, when you begin this way, coaching is about creating conscience. You are more conscious of life, of love, of relationship. I think that's what we are doing, Jaya.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
our way of being in life. So life never stops bringing you more lessons.
Hmm. Certainly.
And sometimes I say, I'm tired.
Hmm.
But I think life says, well, if you want to continue living, this is life. So take your lessons.
Yeah. So, Elena, you have been so ingrained and engaged with coaching as a field, and you have seen coaches of all kinds. What's your message for them? What's your advice for them? What do you see happening today that's disappointing, and what do you see happening that's encouraging? Talk to me about that.
I always say that the only tool that we have to do coaching is ourselves and the size of our world. And when your world is smaller than the world of your client, you will not serve your client as a coach.
Yeah,
So
and I heard that from you several times about the world. And I want you to Give some examples around that, because I have leveraged this line so many times in my trainings and I see a lot of coaches don't get it. Can you talk more about?
Yes. First thing is, you can't see outside what you don't see inside.
Mm-hmm.
We are blind to what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, the work with ourselves, the relationship that we have with life, the relationship that we have with others, the way you listen to your moods, and you could see how moods blend or create your relationship with what is, or we think outside the world, because it's not outside, it's inside,
Mm-hmm.
needs to be, you need to be very conscious of that. And it's a never ending work, because
Hmm.
once you see something, you will see more and more and more and more and more. And even this conversation of being responsible for your own life, I also think that pain, breakdowns are your best teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And that resilience is not saying I passed it over and that's it. No, resilience is what I did learn from here, what I'm
Mm.
taking from here for my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a point of transformation. So receive it from that point of view. And the other one is, how do you relate to the other, to the bigger world? How do
Mm-hmm.
you relate to what is happening between Israel and Iran and Hamas? What is happening in this world between Russia and Ukraine? What is happening in this world about democracy? What is
Mm.
happening in this world about migrants? You become part of those conversations, because they are all conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And trying not to take a part, but to listen to what happens there, to begin to connect with future, for example, from not this morning. For me, it's very very early in the morning, no, but if I look at the world today, here it's a little windy and there's no sun yet, I could say, well, it's the same day like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Probably no. What is emerging today in the world? What contingencies happening that could change the way the things are going on? So relating to work, to time, for example, with another kind of sensibility, just to see what could change. So the world that you can know from outside, the
Mm-hmm.
relationship with future. I always say, why am not the coach of the CEO of Google? And I always explain that myself, saying, well, probably the size of my world is still smaller for him.
Mm. Mm.
Yes? So I continue developing a bigger relationship with the world and a bigger relationship with myself. For example, I had not a relationship with shame. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was not ashamed ever.
Mm.
When I could look at myself and see my shame, I began
Don't.
listening my clients talking about shame. And this
Yeah,
happened 2 3 years ago.
I hear you. I hear you.
So another thing that happens that has to do with the world, how you use
Mm-hmm.
your power. Personal power has to do with your capacity to choose. And from there, call for action. But first you have
What
to
do you
choose.
do? Or do you think you can choose?
Yes, because
Hmm.
sometimes we choose in a very little world because we don't think in a bigger world where we can choose. No?
Yeah.
So another thing that happens with freedom, and this happened to me in a beautiful, unforgettable session I had with Fernando Flores. He told me, Elena, think if part of your choosing is limited because you want to be accepted by everybody.
That's such a big lesson. Yeah, I mean, we keep looking for acceptance, whether it is clients or
And he,
parents or partners or friends, or you just feel relevant, all that.
and he told me, if you do that, you will never get for your dreams.
And that's the biggest lesson, right? How do you really reach that
Well,
place
he
to
told me something that it happened. Your world will
Hmm,
change. There
hmm,
will be people that today are around you, there will not be anymore. And some new people will come,
hmm,
but that people will be more powerful and belong to the world that you want to be in. And that was absolutely something that happened in my work. My
it's only
changes,
when you
my
accept,
clients
right?
changed and really changed.
Say more about that. How did it change? What happened?
Well, I'm coaching. I'm only coach CEOs or first lines
Hmm,
because of, not because of fame. I do that because the kind of conversation and I can create, the way of I challenge that people,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
is for that kind of people. Yes, I chose to work with them, but I have bigger companies with bigger
Hmm,
projects, transformational projects, and that came when I could get away of I want to be what you like myself to be.
hmm, So, a lesson in total self acceptance, which a lot of people don't get it.
Well, it's I don't know if it is exactly self-acceptance. I would tell you is, do you respect your dream?
Hmm,
And do you ask yourself, what kind of person is your dream looking for? Because if it is a dream, you cannot get in being who you are today.
So, I'm thinking that it's still a self acceptance, because if you own your dream and you really want to go for it, you really, really need to accept yourself
Mhm.
the way you are, and you can always have more scope to develop. You can always create more goals, but see your shame, see your strengths, see what you who you are really. And that's the real job for all of us, especially for coaches,
Yes.
to be leading in this space. So if you have to leave a few, very few, 2 or 3 advices for today's coaches, the new coaches in today's world, or people who aspire to be the brilliant coaches.
I would ask them if they are ready to confront this kind of conscious life.
And what does it take? What does a conscious life take from us
Is
or demand from us?
thinking that every breakdown that life presents is not
Mm-hmm.
life presenting to you, is you
Mm-hmm.
declaring the breakdown because it's something that goes in the middle of what you want to get.
Mm-hmm.
If you are ready to look at that from yourself, not from life. So it's a very big change about responsibility in this world.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is, this is a profession where you will never stop. Stop growing, stopping your relationship is never okay. It's always more, but it's not a never okay coming from duty. Is accepting that today is like it is, but tomorrow it will change again. And we are ready
Mm-hmm.
for that.
We're ready for that.
And the other thing is, I think we are creating peace, because peace is not the peace that we look outside. Peace is accepting the other one, respecting the other one. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, and we say, I am so open, I believe in diversity and inclusion, yes, as a concept. Look at
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you will find always something where you are not accepting what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one thing to say that I accept, and the other thing to really, really accept it in the true sense.
Yes.
Wow. So I am so full of so much of wisdom, and I can continue like forever. What are some of the resources you would like to leave with us, which coaches can refer? They can grow from where they are, they can actually see more possibilities in themselves and really understand and connect. Because I also noticed that a lot of people just come for the education and their vision is very narrow. They're looking at it like a profession, very transactional, but completely overlooking or do not have actually sight to the bigger picture of this profession. What are some of the resources you would like to leave them
Let me talk about very old books that
with?
for me were really impactful.
Okay.
One is a novel
Okay.
that is called, let me remember, this is the story of a gorilla
Mm-hmm.
that decided to transmit to a human being
Hmm.
what the gorilla learned about human beings and who we are in this world.
Hmm.
It's a novel, and the
Okay.
name is Ishmael.
Ishmael. Okay. It's in English?
Daniel Quinn. Yes, it's in English.
Daniel Quinn. Okay. Okay.
There we can learn how blind we are, thinking that we are the kings of creation, that we are the ones that are superior. And he had a second novel, I don't remember the name, but it's incredible, about religion.
Religion.
Yes,
Okay.
that is impactful too. Daniel Quinn.
Daniel Quinn. Okay. Okay.
Another one, it's called Infinite and Finite Games
Infinite and finite games.
by James Cars,
Okay.
where you can look at life like this is like a, well, I need to win this situation because what it means, all my life I'm playing a game, and what it means in that big game to win. So it's very, very excellent book. I think those are books that people do not read. That's why I'm telling you, please read those books.
Okay. And Elena, are you glued to the podcast world? What do you see is there? What is something that we can pick up from you?
I don't think people could pick up something from the stories, you know. Uh,
Okay.
I think people can relate to the stories and probably from listening to the story of another one could see some things that happen to themselves and
Hmm.
get curious and say, well, probably I had something, I don't know if it's similar, but why did this come to my life? What I have to learn? How
Hmm.
can I change
Hmm.
from here on? How can I open my heart to more and more love, more sense of connection, understanding
Hmm.
love as sense of connection?
Hmm. Understanding love and a sense of connection.
Mhm.
Very responsible conversation, right? Awesome. Great. I think what is that I've not asked you? I'm so curious about knowing more.
No,
This
I am satisfied with being with you and the space that you open for me. So I want to thank you for that.
yeah, I mean I was so touched by how you receive everyone, how much love you give without really having any barriers. And that's so precious. And I've seen you in so many settings and it just amazes me. I'm continuously curious about how do you do that? How do you continue giving so much of love to each and every person who comes in contact with you? And that's something really, really amazing. And I have learned that you need to be really big in your heart for that. I see that in you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Elena, we'll connect again, and I'm sure we are meeting soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this conversation, and I'll see you sometime soon.
Big, big hug to you.